In my previous video on how to frame canvas panels, one of the methods was to use this wood frame. And people ask me, how do you assemble a wood frame like this and where do I buy it from? I answer all those questions in this video, and at the end I also show you how you can switch out a painting in under 20 seconds. And that's really handy if you want to reuse frames for exhibits or art festivals. You want to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you'll know when I have new videos available. These are the frames that I use. They're Nielsen Bainbridge wood frame kits, and I have a link in the description below. I bought the natural because that's what I prefer, but they also come in black. This is the kit that I bought. There's an 8-inch pair and then there's a 10-inch. So I'll just open these up. Probably slice it from the back so you don't scratch the front of the frame. So you should have 4 wood strips and then 4 thumbnails. I put down a piece of cardboard to protect my desk. So I got 2 long ones and 2 shorter ones, and you'll notice that the corners have slots routed into them, and that's for the thumbnails to go into. If you take a close look at these plastic thumbnails, one side is flat and the other end is round. You want the flat end sticking up so that when you pound it into the corner, it'll be flush with the wood frame. And any hammer will work. I have a rubber mallet. You can use like a regular hammer, and there's a tack hammer that I also use sometimes. I might try this one for once, see how that works. So the way that you do this is you just apply glue to the ends. And this is just regular wood glue. You can get it at a hardware store. I usually apply a little bit on each end, and then I smooth it out with my finger just to spread it out. You just press them together. Now, like I said, they say you can use your thumb to press them in, but that's pretty hard. It'd probably hurt your thumb. So I'll just use this tack hammer. It helps to wipe off some of the excess glue before it dries on there. So there's one corner done. The rest are pretty much the same, except the final 2 I do at the same time. I'll show you what that looks like. But first I'll do this corner. A little bit of glue on each side. Smooth it out. I'm trying to get some on the edge right here too, that thin edge. Then press them together. So I line it up first. Thumbnail with the flat end up. Press it in a little bit. Wipe off the excess glue. Now the tricky part is if you were to do this corner first, put the thumbnail in there, how would you open this up to get wood glue in there? So what I normally do is I glue both ends at the same time. So I glue that end and then I'll glue this end. So a little bit of glue on both ends of this last strip. So I'll just line it up. And what I like to do is I put the one thumbnail in on one side just to lock that in place, and then get the other one lined up too. Don't like the idea of pounding one in all the way and finding out that this end isn't really lined up that well either. So I might just drive this one a little bit and then do the same over here. There you have it, it's all together. You just want to wipe off the remaining glue before it starts to tack up. Before I let it dry, I like to check to see if it's square. So I'll use like a square like this, and it lines up perfect with the edge, so it looks like it is. You can measure both corners, and if both of them are square, then that means the whole thing is square. The second way that I check for squareness is to measure both diagonals, and this one measures 14.5. And then if I measure the second diagonal, that's also 14.5. So if they're both the same, then that means they're square. You're mostly at the mercy of whoever cut the frame. Most of the time, I only just like check it to make sure it's not off by a lot, and usually it's square and I just leave it. It's the larger frames that you have issues with, and sometimes you can clamp them in place. Like if you have a jig where the corner is square, you can clamp it down over on the other corner and let it dry that way. I'll let this dry overnight, and then I'll show you how I put the canvas panel in. This is the Fletcher point driver, and it's what I use to secure the panel into the picture frame. So you load these into the front and the points face outwards, but you have to pull this lever up and then twist counterclockwise to lock it in place so that it's up like that. Then you just drop it into the front, twist clockwise, and that releases it, and you let it back down. And this metal thing presses down onto the points. And the back is an adjustment knob. If you turn it clockwise, it increases the depth that it'll drive it into the wood frame. And if you want to decrease it, you turn it counterclockwise. Kind of expensive, but it will save you a lot of money in the long run on custom framing, and it makes changing out paintings so much easier that I think it's worth the cost. If you don't want to invest in one of these right away, you can buy a manual one that you can drive in the points by hand. It takes more work, but it's much less expensive. I've got my picture frame and my painting, and all you do is just drop it face down into the frame. You only need like 1 point per side on a small painting like this. So you just squeeze the lever and it drives a point right in there. And there you have it, your painting is secured in the frame. Now let's say you want to switch out this painting for an exhibit. These points are flexible, so all you do is you just bend them back. Pop out the old painting. Drop in the new one, and then just fold the points back down. There you have it. You have a whole new painting in your frame. Now to finish this off, you probably want to add either a sawtooth hanger, which most people don't like using, or you can use picture hanging wire. I also put rubber bumpers on the corners to protect the wall and to keep it from sliding around. And I'll show you how to do that next. I find it's easier to drill the holes if the painting isn't in the frame, so I'll remove the painting. So this would be the top of the frame, and usually you go about 1/3 of the way down. This is 10 inches tall, so that'd be 3 inches and 1/3. Thirds aren't really that easy to measure on a ruler. So I'll probably do 3.5. So that's 3.5 on that side. You can use a square to extend that or just eyeball it. So how far in do you put the eye hooks? I would say maybe 1/2 inch. So you don't want to drill too far, and I think it's about the depth I'm looking for. So one trick that you can use is just put a small piece of masking tape on the drill bit, just to mark how deep you want to go, like maximum. So the holes are drilled on this. Oops. Marked that one wrong, so I'll re-drill that one. Not a big deal. So you just twist in the eye hooks. It's best to put the painting in before you put the second one in. Then I could just fold the points back down. I just have to twist in this eye hook and then I'll attach the wire. That's pretty secure. So this is picture hanging wire. This has like a plastic coating on the outside, which is nice because if it doesn't have that coating, sometimes this stuff unravels and it pierces your skin when you're trying to get this on here. So I like the plastic coated one. So you don't want to cut this too short because it'll be really taut. And you need a little bit of slack in there just so you can get your hand behind the picture frame and get it onto the hook. So I leave maybe 2 inches of extra room on the end, maybe even more, just so you got room to work with. And you need some sort of wire cutter. So it's the same thing on this side. So I usually bend the wire a little bit just so I can get it through the eye hook, pull it through, and you want to, like I said, you want to leave some slack in there. I twist it around maybe 4 times. So that's 3, one more time. You want to put it through the top of the loop here. You can see that. Like that. Usually just push this up a little bit. And what you want to do is you want to loop this back through this loop on the right here. Get my fingers out of the way so you can see. This is all loose, so what I normally do is take a pair of pliers, just scrunch all that up, and then you can pull it through so that it tightens on itself. See if you can scrunch up on it a little bit more. Pull it tight, and then with all this excess wire, you just wrap it around itself. The last step is to put some sort of rubber bumpers on the back of the frame, and they make these clear rubber ones, or maybe they're plastic. And I also have these white ones which are square. I kind of like these ones, so I'll go with those. What these do is they protect the wall from your picture frame, and they also help prevent the picture from sliding around on your wall. And if your wall's uneven, the contact is only in those 4 points, so it won't wobble or anything. Just peel off the backing, and there's adhesive on there, and you just stick it on the corner. And there you have your finished picture frame. The question is, can you remove the canvas panel with the picture hanging wire in the way? So if you just slip it out the bottom, it should come out. And then you could put in a new painting, push the points down. So there you go, there's a new painting in that frame. In case you're wondering, you can use these frames for regular canvases. This is 3/4 of an inch thick, and that fits in there pretty well. So that's another use for these frames.